Hey everybody, this is Jason DeZurek along with Steve Reisner. I hope you guys are doing all right and just glad you were tuned in. And we're going to just keep trucking on these frequently asked questions. We're on number 8 for us at least. And they are from the talkorigins.org website. And we appreciate all of you who are here. And we appreciate that you're asking questions and also allowing us to ask you questions too and you being willing to answer. We appreciate that, right?
Yep.
So we're going to just keep on going here. According to evolution, the diversity of life is a result of chance occurrence. And the question is, doesn't that make evolution wildly improbable? Again, this is from the talkorigins.org website. And the answer they gave is evolution is not simply a result of random chance. It is also a result of non-random selection. We're both smiling. Why are you smiling, Steve?
I'm smiling because this is the way evolutionists like to talk. They like to say things like, basically, they violate the law of non-contradiction. If it's a result of chance, that's great. If it's not a result of chance, that means if it is non-random selection, that means there is a selector. That means if it's not random, that means that there was a process that was gone through to select. And they think this is okay, though. It's okay to say that it's a non-random selection, but it's also the result of chance, mindless, directionless chance. And to use all three of those different terms to describe the same process, I think is a mistake. The misconception, I think, here is that natural selection aids the evolutionary process. Using the term natural selection, some evolutionists don't care for that because of the word selection, because it does imply that there is a selector or a process that goes which would imply there's intelligence behind it. But the problem with the natural selection being an aid for evolution is that natural selection does not add anything to anything. It doesn't make a warm-blooded animal from a cold-blooded animal. It doesn't take a single-celled organism and turn it into a multicellular, miraculous machine like the human being. It works with what's already there. I mean, the variety of life that we have on the planet Earth, which some people just want to say that talking about evolution means we're talking about where the variety came from, and I don't think, for my purposes, that's not true. I'm talking about pond scum to people. But the variety of life on Earth is mind-boggling. I mean, there are millions and millions and millions of different types of organisms. Some of them are completely like night and day. Some of them are very similar, but still different. Mm-hmm. But it's incalculable to figure out how many different types of organisms there are. We can guess about it, but we really don't know. And to think that a directionless, purposeless, mindless, uncaring, whatever process, the natural process that doesn't care about anything, created all of that. And again, it took pond scum and it made Einstein out of it. It's just, that in and of itself, I think, is mind-boggling, how someone could actually think that. The process that they try to claim is responsible here is mutation. That you have a genetic mutation, and if that mutation is actually expressed, my understanding is almost every time that mutation is expressed, if it doesn't kill the organism, it inhibits it. Every once in a while, that may not be true, but most of the time, you're talking about a fatal mistake.
Can you give an example of that?
We have all kinds of chromosomal defects when human beings are born. There's Downs and all kinds of things like that. I don't think anyone would say that a person who has Down syndrome has an advantage. It didn't kill them, although oftentimes some of the problems that develop because of that would end up in a premature death.
Okay.
Or an earlier demise, I should say, I guess. But again, people want to say that the mutation, although it's almost always fatal, is the engine by which all of this stuff happened is just ludicrous. And so again, I want to stress, natural selection can't be the engine of evolution, and to say that otherwise is misrepresenting the process, because it only works with the information that exists already. It doesn't add information. It doesn't make an organism more complex or more capable. It was capable before it was selected. So there's no addition of information through natural selection. And I would say that it could even be argued that natural selection is the opposite of evolution. So much so that I like to give credit for natural selection to a creationist by the name of Blythe, who lived or wrote about natural selection more than 20 years prior to Darwin's On the Origin of Species. He was a creationist. He was not an evolutionist. He observed natural selection, wrote about it. Darwin then talked about it and made it popular. But because of that, I don't think that natural selection is just antagonistic to evolution. It's actually complementary to creation theory, which is a science, which is a valid scientific explanation for the origin of life and the universe, just as valid as any other that I'm aware of. But I think the bottom line here is chance does not cause anything to happen. Just because there's a chance that something can happen does not mean that it will happen.
If you give it enough time, like a lot of evolutionists say, can you give us an example of why, helping people understand, look, giving it enough time does not cause it to happen?
Actually, giving evolution more time causes more problems for it.
Okay.
Because there is more chaos that comes about. And that's a question we're going to get into later, talking about the laws of thermodynamics. But the longer you give something without inputting some type of intelligence and direction, the more chaotic it gets. So the longer you give the genetic code to turn it from an amino acid or a group of amino acids into a genius, a person, the longer that time span is, the less likely it is to actually happen, because things get more chaotic, not less chaotic, and that is one of the things that evolution stands in the face of. Who cares if actually everything seems to run down? We're still going to say that through natural processes that are undirected and not intelligent, we're going to develop more complex organisms. But an example of chance not causing something would be if you wanted to go out and you thought, you know what, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to win the lottery 250 times in a row.
That would be great.
It would be really cool to have that, but
not going to happen.
That is possible, right? It's possible because
possible.
Somebody has to win.
Well, as long as I play 250
times. Sure. Somebody has to win, right?
Yeah.
It is possible, but there's really no way that that's ever going to happen. It won't happen.
With this example, with winning the lottery 250 times consecutively, is we have to remember that once you start over again the process, your chances have they haven't gotten better. They're the same. When you start it all over again, it's the same, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not...
Which actually exponentially
will really make your chances worse.
Right, exponentially, yes.
And so kind of what you're talking about there with evolution, the more time you give it. Whew. So friend, we thank you for listening. Again, go to worldviewwarriors.org or donotkeepsilent.com. And again, I thank my friend Steve Reisner for sitting in with us. And Steve, you got anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Negative.